Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of All the Way In. I'm so excited to be sharing the lives of college athletes with you guys. This week's episode is a little bit different and I'm so excited for it. I've gotten a lot of different questions and DMs from people actually throughout the time that I've been doing my podcast, and I've kind of just been keeping them and building them up until I get to this point. And I've seen a lot of different episodes from other people lately where they just answer listener questions and then give their feedback and advice on it. And so that's basically what we're going to be doing today. And I want to start off by saying, if you ever have any questions, you want, you have guest recommendations, you have topics you want us to talk about, please always feel free to comment, reach out, DM me, whatever. So go and check out the podcast Instagram if you haven't done that already. It is at allthewayinpod and will be linked in the description for this video. I think it's so awesome that people are already doing that, and just I love it. And I think it helps you guys because ultimately this podcast and the content I cover on it is just supposed to help somebody at least. And so, yeah, if anybody ever has any topics they want me to talk about, anything of the sort, let me know. And also, before we get started with this episode, I do just want to say that I had so many technical difficulties filming this. It was very frustrating. So this is a separate intro from the actual podcast. It did not record for some reason on my camera, so I'm redoing it. But yeah, so I excuse the audio for part of it that also went south as well. So we had a lot going on in the recording of this episode, but I'm really excited to be sharing this with you guys. There's so much good information and I hope you guys enjoy it. For this week's episode, we also have Sammy back on the podcast. I thought it would be so incredible to have her back for this because we're both at two different stages in our athletic careers. She's a senior. I am a sophomore. We're also in two different sports and have lots of different experiences growing up and in college. So I thought she would be perfect for this episode. So I'm so excited to have her back. And Sammy Diaz, welcome back to All the Way In.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yes, it's so good to have you in front of the camera again.
Not behind.
Yes, not behind. Let's just get right into our questions. So we're starting off with a really good one. I like this one. I can resonate with this one a lot, which is why I really liked it, and I chose it first. So the question is, I'm a sophomore in high school, and I've always dreamed of playing in college. I feel like I work really hard at practice, and I've been getting better. But when I went to a college camp, they told me that I wasn't good enough to play at this level. What should I do?
Oh, that's the worst.
Have you had an experience like that before?
Yes, I actually, kind of like it. I remember, so growing up, I played for a coach for a really long time, and I always look back and I'm like, he was an amazing coach, but there's a difference between a coach and a coach that pushes you to go to a college. You know what I mean? A recruiting coach kind of thing. And I'll never forget, I was hitting, because he did hitting lessons, individual. And I still really I still love him. Without him, I wouldn't have the ability of the softball player I am today. But I'll never forget, after a hitting lesson once, he told my dad, he was like, yeah, I think Sammy should start looking at smaller schools because, and as a parent, you're like, oh, you're probably
Yeah.
no, that really crushed my dad. He didn't want to tell me that.
Right.
I obviously found out later on, but also as a parent too, you need to be realistic with your son or daughter.
It's hard.
So it's hard. And I remember him once I started to get in the process of emailing different coaches and stuff, I had where I wanted to go. And then my parents were like, maybe we should dim it down a little bit, which is yeah, I shouldn't be just going right off top 10 schools. But I mean, Iowa was definitely not on my list at all. But yeah, I remember when my dad and my mom told me that, I kind of it hurt.
It does hurt.
I was like, wow, you as my coach don't believe in me, that I'm first of all, why am I on your team if you don't
if you don't think I'm good enough.
Exactly. Yeah. But I just kind of remember I was you know what, F that kind of thing. I'm gonna use that as motivation to be better than that and just strive for greater than those mid majors. And nothing on mid majors, obviously,
Yeah.
but when you know your ability, you know your ability. And when you see other people's ability and you're like, I'm just as good, like, why are you telling me that I can't go play at a higher level that I think that I can play at? I don't know. It's kind of just like a slap in the face.
No,
almost.
it really is. Well,
But-
and like you've been doing it your whole life.
Exactly.
And it's like, are you kidding me? Like now I'm getting to the point in my recruiting process. Now you're just telling me like I'm not going to be good enough. Like what about all this work
Exactly.
I've been doing for so long?
For so long. Has it happened to you?
Yeah, so I was going to say, I think I've talked about it a little bit before, but it's been a long time. But basically I had a very similar experience like this happen to me. But I went to a camp, like an ID camp at the school I thought I was going to go to. And like they had been watching me.
Wait, can you say it? Or no?
I don't know.
You can tell me after.
I'll tell you after.
Okay.
But I went to a camp at this school, and then, like, according to my club coach, they had been interested in watching me for a while. So I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna go to this camp. This is gonna be a great idea. And I don't know, do you guys do camps?
Yeah.
Camps, in my opinion, at least for soccer, are hard sometimes because the level of play is very hit or miss. Like, you can get lucky and get a lot of really good players.
Yes.
But I, in my experience, have tend to found that most camps are a lot of younger girls, which I don't really get, especially with the changing of recruiting ages. Like, why are 8th graders coming to college
literally.
ID camps? But that's besides the point. And just in general, the level of play is not great.
Yeah.
So that was the case at this camp. And I definitely was, like, by far the best player at the camp. But I struggle playing with bad players.
Yeah, I mean, the saying, like, when you surround yourself with, it's like when you're playing, like, a not, like, super good team, it's like you tend to play at that level.
Play down to their level. Yes.
Like, that's just how sports is.
Yeah,
like,
it's hard not to do that. So that's, I mean, essentially, like, out of the story, that's what happened. So I didn't have my best camp, but I certainly didn't play bad. But I think their kind of headspace with that was like, well, you should be, like, the superstar.
Dominating everybody
Yes.
here.
And that wasn't what happened. And so they're at these camps, they give you like feedback and stuff. And they said like you can reach out. I think I was able to reach out at that point for feedback and whatnot. And I don't think they were expecting me to reach out. I don't know, for like feedback or whatever.
Yeah.
But I like called them and I did, and I emailed them, and he wouldn't even, or actually, no, he did call me. Sorry. So he reached out to my club coach first and just said like, hey, I don't think it's a good fit for us, which is fine. But so then I reached out for feedback, and I don't think he was expecting me to do that.
Yeah.
So it took him a while to get back to me, and he ended up calling me, and the conversation basically just ended with like, you are never going to play at this level, so you should reevaluate like what schools you're looking at, and if you want to be at this level, you're never going to touch the field. You're going to sit on the bench your entire career if you go to a Power 5 school.
God.
And like for me,
You're like, look at my ring now. Look
I
at
know.
my ring
like,
now.
screw you. Because I mean, we haven't played them, but we've played everybody, like a lot of people in your conference. And you sucked this year.
Oh
but
my God.
It's okay.
That's horrible though.
Yeah, it was a terrible thing. And for a 17-year-old girl to hear that, and like I was at this point pretty late in my recruiting process. So I was
already like,
I was already coming down to the wire, and this was devastating for me to hear. And just like hearing someone say like, you will never be able to do that. I'm like, you don't know who I am. You don't really know anything about me, and you're judging this all based off of like one day essentially of seeing me play. And they've seen me play like against good competition, and I've done well. So they know what I'm capable of, but it's just whatever. So I like that really destroyed me for probably like 2 days.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm not letting him tell me what I can and can't accomplish.
Exactly, yeah.
Like I've had these goals and these dreams for forever, and I know what I want, and I know what I'm capable of.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let this fuel my fire.
Motivation, exactly.
Yeah, so I used it as motivation, and I worked my butt off for probably like the next year or so. And finally, my opportunity came, and here I am, and it worked out.
Yeah.
And I will definitely say, like, that's such a hard thing to go through.
So
and I
hard.
think a lot of athletes go through it. Like, you even look at someone like Alex Morgan. I know this isn't relevant to you.
Oh, no, but I mean, she's huge.
She's huge, and she got cut from club teams, and then she even had a hard time like getting into colleges and like making it. And then I'm pretty sure like she even got cut from the national team at some point, and like look at her now.
Yeah.
So it's like at every point the most elite athletes go through this kind of thing.
Struggles for
they
sure.
Get cut from teams, they get told they're not good enough. And I feel like to kind of answer this question, like the difference between, because you look at how many athletes compete at this level, it's like less than 5% of college or of high school athletes, which is crazy. But it's like the difference of between like being able to take that as motivation and use that to work harder versus letting that shut you down. Exactly. I feel like is one of the big differences.
Oh yeah, it's huge. When I got told that statement, like in my story, I remember like, I want to say, I don't know exactly how long it took me, but I actually ended up leaving
the team.
And I think also like kind of to like an atmosphere is like huge to like kind of, I don't know if that like goes hand in hand with the question, but like the atmosphere that you surround yourself with will also motivate you to like know how far that you can go. Like I remember like, and like I said, nothing on the coach. He was a great coach, but just not recruiting me well.
Right.
The way that I wanted to be recruited. And so I ended up leaving his team, and I think it only took like maybe a few months, and like Iowa was like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And so like also it's kind of just like everything happens for a reason. And without like for your story, like without that coach telling you like that you weren't ever going to play at that level, it wouldn't have motivated you to work harder and to like be where you are now. And like look at you now, like you said, like look at my ring.
Look at my ring.
You know what I mean though? Like,
yeah, no, I agree.
So like it also like I said, atmosphere, like the atmosphere that I was on a more atmosphere team where like I was surrounding myself with like motivation, people that like wanted to be the best, people that were motivating themselves to go to Power 5 school. And like I think that's huge in especially the recruiting process. Like you have to put yourself in an atmosphere where you want to be at. Like, and that's just that. Like,
yes, that's very true. Yeah, so I think to wrap up both of our answers for that question, like I think you can maybe say your biggest takeaway if you want to, but I think for me, like the biggest thing is not letting like someone like that who says something like that to you determine your fate. Like don't let that tear you down. Don't let that change your dreams and your goals. Like obviously to some extent you need to be realistic.
Exactly, yeah.
But I feel like you should already have a good idea prior to like for me, for example, like I had a pretty accurate idea. Like Power 5 was something that was accomplishable for me. And that's not the case for everyone, and that's fine. And like if that wasn't the case for me in that situation, like it would have sucked, but I feel like I would have known. I wouldn't have gone to that camp in the first place.
Exactly.
Whatever. So like have coaches and stuff that are around you that are going to be honest with you and tell you like, hey, I don't think going to a top 10 school in the country is in the cards for you. Like it's important to have that honesty, but also don't let people who are saying that at the same time tear you down and stop you.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I just that's 100%. Like, there's no other way to put it.
Okay, so for question 2, it says, I play for a travel team, but it's not in the top league, and we aren't the best team. Does that matter, and will that hurt my recruiting process? So kind of a little bit, like we touched on it a little bit, but what are your initial thoughts?
I would say it depends on your ability, and if you think that like you're like a big fish in a little pond kind of thing. In that case, I would say definitely yes, because no matter what, these top recruits are going to go to the top teams, and that's just the reality of it. And so I would say just it would depend on where you would want to go, like where you see yourself in the future. Do you see yourself in a big school? Like I said, are you a little fish in a big pond, like just absolutely dominating, you're the best one on the team, and you want to go big in school, then I would definitely say like it's time to branch out. But if you think that you fit in well with your team and the atmosphere that you're playing in, then I don't think that it's necessary to, leave that team or anything like that. I think if you're satisfied, it's almost like if you're satisfied where you're at, then there's no need to change it. But if you aren't satisfied and you don't think that the people that you're surrounding yourself with are making you better, then I think that's a decision that you would need to make for yourself. Like, are these people really making me better as an athlete or in the sport that you play in? So yeah, I would just say it's kind of your own opinion.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
It's a hard question.
Yeah,
and I like the way you went with it, because I was gonna kind of say it's hard because you look at, obviously at this level, majority of these people that are playing where we are have competed on the best teams in the top leagues in the country. But that's not to say that there aren't people, like for soccer, for example, who haven't played ECNL. Like, there are people who have been in worse leagues, and still made it to this level. I think that's more of an anomaly. That's not a common thing. And I think, if you are definitely, like you said, a big fish in a small pond, that can sometimes be the case.
Yes.
I would say it's definitely more rare. But I do really like your point of, evaluating, is this, are the players on this team, are the coaches on this team, do they have the same values I have? Do they have the same goals I have?
Yeah.
If none of the girls on your MRL soccer team want to play at an elite level in college, and you do, then you probably shouldn't be on that team.
Exactly.
That is a good way to look at it. I think it can be hard. I played in the best league for soccer, which in my opinion is the ECNL, and that definitely helped me get to where I am, and was a huge piece in my recruiting process. But that's not to say we were the best team at all. We definitely were not the best team. We were pretty good. But, I mean, if you look at, Michigan's a hotbed for soccer, and the best club there is the Hawks, and they're in the national championship every year, for most of their age groups. And I wasn't on that team, but I still made it here. So I think it's just, I don't know. It's a hard question. It's kind of a give or take.
Yeah. It's just based on, like I said, kind of what you want out of your future. You have to you really have to ask yourself, what do I want for my future? What do I see myself doing, being, and then evaluate yourself where you are now. Is this going to bring me to where I want to be? And if it's not, it's okay. If you are on a team where, like you said, that your other teammates are not as dedicated as you are, that's okay. That doesn't make them bad people. It doesn't make your team a bad team. It's just, it's different values, and sometimes you gotta spread your wings and fly.
Yeah, I think that can be the hard thing.
Yes,
especially
definitely.
with girls. They're like, oh, you're leaving us? You think you're better than us?
Yeah, and then
it can get petty. And I know, leaving club teams and stuff like that can be challenging, especially as a female. But I think it all just comes back to, like you said, your values. That's a really good point. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. So, the next question. I've been playing my sport since I was 5. I'm 15 now, and I've always dreamed of playing in college and professionally, but the last few years have been really difficult. I don't love going to practice anymore, and I feel like I might be losing the love for my sport. What do you think I should do, and can I enjoy my sport again?
Oh, that's so hard. I just feel like anybody, and I mean, me and you both have been playing our whole entire lives. I've been playing softball, you've been playing soccer. There definitely comes a time where it just, you hit the wall and it's is this really what I want to do? And especially when you're in high school and you're developing as, I'm just going to say a young woman. There's in high school, there's parties, you want to go hang out with your friends, there's all this stuff. But if you're an athlete, it's you can't do a lot of those things. And for me, that was kind of hard. It's dang, I see all my friends doing all these fun things. And I never really got to go to dances or proms or anything like that, because I always had softball on the weekend, or had to wake up super early, or could never have sleepovers with my friends, things like that. So I can see where it gets hard and you're oh my God, I don't know if I want to do this. There's that aspect of it. And then there also is an aspect where you aren't seeing yourself growing as an athlete, and you aren't, you might be in a slump, or you might not be performing the way that you want to. You can lose the love for the game, and like that's so hard. But like if I can give like any advice, I would definitely just say like don't give up, because it's so worth it in the end. And like me being a senior now in college, like there definitely were times where I was like, wow, this is getting really hard, and is this really what I want to do? Is this like, do I want to like keep putting myself in this mental state where I'm like not okay? But if I can go back in time, I would just give my little self a hug and look at her and say like, you're gonna be okay, like, and you're gonna do this. So if I could, like I said, give any advice, like I would just say, don't give up if you truly love the sport, because it's so worth it.
It is. That's a good point. This is like a hard question and topic to talk about. Like, I don't know. I definitely went through rough patches in club and stuff, and it was more so when I was like struggling with my performance.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever reached a point in club where I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't like going to practice anymore, and this is really hard, and I think I might be falling out of love for the sport. Like that, I'm more experienced in college, just because the environment was so different here.
Yeah.
But I feel like, kind of what we said for the last one, though, it does come back in a way to your goals and like what you value. And you have to like really be able to ask yourself, do I want to still do this? Like, is this just really hard right now? And like, I'm going to get through it, or do I actually not see myself playing in college? And I think like this is one of the great self-promotion, but like this is one of the great like ways that we can help people like this, is like through sharing our experiences and like really get out there, talk to people, like find as many resources as you can to find out what it is like to be a college athlete, because yeah, it sounds great and it looks great on paper, but it's so hard.
So hard.
And you have to really like be able to decide, is this something I'm willing to go through? Because a lot of people get here and they very quickly realize they're not.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is like just not taking the time in high school to fully appreciate how much effort and work it takes. Like I think a lot of people say, well, yeah, I work hard in club and I put all the work in, and so like once you commit, you're good and you can relax. And like my parents have always been the first to tell me like that's the easiest part of this process is finding a school and committing.
Exactly.
Like the hardest part you can't even imagine is waiting for you.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess that's what I would kind of say in addition to what you said. I do really like what you said as well, but it's a hard thing to navigate. Like I don't really know how you,
especially like just like at that age.
Yeah, it's a hard age.
You're at the age where you're like figuring yourself out. You're figuring out what you like and what you don't like. And I mean, if you choose not to do it, like that's still okay. Like
yeah.
And like we say, like being a student athlete is like the most amazing thing. But also like it's not our identity, and it's not like we're so much more than like being an athlete. So like if you do have those thoughts and you do decide to not continue it, like that is okay too. Like it's okay to just, I don't want to say be a normal person, because that's
you're normal either way.
Yeah. But like, you know what I mean?
In
like,
a way, yeah.
It is okay, but also like we're gonna obviously strive towards you know fighting and battling, like keep pushing kind of thing. But also like I just keep saying, like it is okay if you do lose the love for it, because there's so many people that lose the love for it, and it's that like that's just sports and that's life, and you just got to keep going and find another love and passion for what you want to do with your life, kind of thing.
100%. And I think going off that too, not a lot of people talk about it as well, but I actually saw a TikTok earlier, or maybe it was yesterday, but a girl played tennis at Indiana, and like people were asking her questions about it, and people,
I think I've seen this
people
girl on
like
TikTok.
talking about club.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I was gonna say, just like people, I think forget as well, because I think people get so, and I saw like so many people that I know and so many teammates even like get so wrapped up in the idea of playing college sports. And like we said earlier, the reality is not even 5% of high school athletes reach this level, and it's even less at the Power 5 level. So that's like not many people at all.
No, not at all.
And you just have to like realize what it takes to get to this level. Like be honest with yourself, find people that are going to be honest with you, but also, like, there are other options. You can
Yeah.
play a sport in club. I
Mhm.
mean, oh my god. A sport in college that's at the club level.
Yes.
And still, like, have so much fun with your sport and love it and play at a high level, but it's a different level of commitment.
Mhm.
So I think that's another thing, like, you can ask yourself and look into.
Exactly, yeah, no. I think that's really good. That's
Yeah.
a really good point.
All right, next one. Okay, I am about to go into my senior year of high school, and I'm trying to figure out if playing in college is something I still want to do. Wait, did I? Oh, I guess it's similar.
Kind of similar, yeah.
It's kind of similar, but I guess, like, is there any other advice you have? This one's a little, so the other one, I guess, would be, like, more so falling out of love.
Mm-hmm. This would be,
Like, how to decide. So I guess we could do a little more, like, steps on how you would decide
if you want to play.
if you want to play or not.
That's a hard question because I feel like if you're questioning it,
Yeah, that's
you know
a good
what I
point.
mean? If you're questioning it, especially if you are what is it, a senior they're asking?
Yeah.
A senior. That's like you need to make a decision kind
Yeah,
of thing.
you're
And I just feel like if you're questioning it, is your love for the sport really there?
right.
And it just goes back again, like, and if it's not, it's okay, but I think it's almost kind of a sign, like, if you are questioning if you want to play college sports, that, like, maybe it's not for you, but also, like, I don't know, maybe I would always say give it a chance, and if you don't, I'm always going to say, like, if you're, like, hesitant on doing something, do it and say you did it,
Yeah.
and if you don't like it, then you can say that you did it, but you don't want to do it anymore. Kind
Right.
of thing,
Yeah,
you know
like
what I
leave
mean?
no regrets.
Exactly. And I'll always live by that. Like, I always will, if I don't know, if I'm hesitant on, I don't even know, going somewhere, doing something, like, I'm always going to push myself to, like, no, Sammy, like, go do it, just to say that you did it. Because you don't know, like, maybe you will have the best time. Like,
Right.
for me and for you, coming to college and playing sports, yes, like, I would say do it, like, 100%. All of the different things that we have experienced and all the things that we get and all, like, just so many different, like, I don't know, like, there's just so much to being a college athlete that, like, you wouldn't know if you didn't do it.
Right,
You know what I mean?
for sure.
So I would always, like, I'm going to say, like, if you're hesitant, do it, but also take a step back and really think to yourself, is this what I want to do, kind of thing? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I
I'm
think
kind of, like, in the middle. Like, it's both. It
it's
goes
hard.
both
I
ways.
know, because I was thinking, like, my first initial thought, and I could, like, kind of touched on it in the previous question, but just to, like, solidify, I guess, like, a question you can ask yourself, like, something you can, like, and be so honest with yourself,
Yeah.
because it doesn't help you to not be honest and be like, oh, like, what? Don't let other people's opinions impact your decision. Like, if you're only, and I saw this in so many people, like, if you're only coming to college to play a sport because you're worried about maybe what other people think, or even, like, your parents, like, I've seen some people, they're like,
Ugh, that's the
my
worst,
dad
yeah.
or whatever is, like, forcing me to play, not forcing you, but, like, it's their dream, and it's not yours, it's not something you want, but you're doing it
Yeah.
for them. Like, you should never enter, especially a college sport, anything, but especially a college sport, with that intention. Like, if you're not doing it for yourself, then don't do it.
The whole parent thing is huge.
It's
nowadays,
crazy.
I feel
Yeah,
like.
it's a big thing. Like, I've seen that so many people, and it's so sad.
It's so sad. Like, I don't know, like, for me, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but, like, my parents were always very much like, this is your dream, like,
Yeah.
you need to do, like, my parents were always there to back me up no matter what, like, and they were going to give me everything that I needed. They were going to pay for travel ball, they were going to pay for all these extra lessons, but if there did come a time where I didn't want to do it anymore, they were going to say, okay, like, they weren't going to be like, no, you have to do this,
Yeah.
like, and I don't know, like, I just will never make my kid ever do something that they don't like. And I don't know. It also goes to, it kind of goes into, like, when you don't play good and your parents get, like, so mad
So
at
pissed
you.
at you.
And it's like, yeah, Mom or Dad, I was trying to go 0 for 4, like, in that game and strike out every
Right.
single time. Like, I really wanted to.
Yeah.
Or, like, they just, like, I hear stories about, like, people on my team, they're like, yeah, like,
my dad wouldn't talk to me for hours. I'm like,
Yeah, after a game. You're like, that's terrifying.
sorry, like,
I know.
Or my mom wouldn't feed me. I'm like,
Oh.
well, I got food, sorry.
No, that is a big thing. And I'm like so grateful for both my parents for always being that way.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to you, Mom and Dad, because I know you're listening.
Yeah,
but,
shout out you guys. I don't know
yes.
you, but I'm sure you guys are great.
Shout out to Karen and Steve. No, but like something, and they've like reminded me, even in college and recently, like as I've gone through ups and downs, like if you, like whatever you do, we will always support you and we will always love you. Like this is your decision, your happiness. Like at the end of the day, all we care about is your happiness. And if you're unhappy, then like figure it out and do whatever you need to do. And like this is a very side tangent, but like going off what you said, like my dad was always just like the biggest thing. I don't care if you play good or bad, but if you're not trying, that's when we have a problem.
Yes, exactly.
But like if you're out there giving it your best and your best effort, that's all I can ever ask of you, and all anyone can ever ask of you. But,
exactly.
So side note there, but
no, it's true though. Yeah. I mean,
but yeah, so I just think like something you just have to be really honest with yourself. Like ask yourself, am I doing this for myself, or am I doing it for like other people's opinions, parents' opinions, grandparents, like whoever it is in your life? And also like I think another good question you can ask yourself is, do I like the idea of being a college athlete?
Yeah.
Or do I actually, or do I want to put the work in? Like, am I, not do I, but like more so, are you willing to put the work in that requires you to perform at this level? And like our coaches still even say this to our team now, and like some of our girls, like it takes so much commitment and drive to perform at this level. And it's also not, that's why I was like, I kind of go back and forth with like the idea of doing it and no regrets, because we have had people even on our team who come in and I'm like, you should have known that this decision wasn't right for you. Like, and that really hurts the team.
Oh, for sure.
Like that, we really had a hard time with girls like that, and they really brought us down, and they really hurt our team culture, our team environment. And so like that's another thing, it's not fair to do that to other people as well.
Fair. That's a very good point.
So yeah, I don't know, you just have to really like ask yourself, are you willing to put in the work? And if you're not, like we said, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But you have to realize like it's a very hard thing that requires a lot of work.
It's not for everyone. That's like 25%.
It's certainly not for everyone.
Yeah. The percentage is low for a reason.
It is. Yeah. No, it is. And I think too, like even kind of with my high school experience, like my recruiting process was different. I was like always concerned because I was always the top athlete in every like middle school, elementary school, and high school. Like I was the girl everyone looked at. And like and I always kind of had the mindset like, oh, if I don't make it to a Power 5, like what is everyone gonna think of
Everyone
me?
think of you, yeah.
And that's a very toxic mindset to get into as well. So as best you can, like don't worry about other people, because it's your life, it's your decision, your happiness.
Yeah, like people aren't gonna remember in
no one cares.
Yeah, literally the statement "nobody cares" is so valid, because at the end of the day, nobody cares.
No, I know. I had to learn that. That took me so long to learn. Like this is also another side tangent, but like when I struggled a lot with my anxiety my freshman year, and especially when I graduated early, like coming back, I'm like, I had like all these ideas of what people thought of me and were like keeping tabs on me, and they weren't true at all, but I just like put them in my own head. Yeah. And I was so worried about them. I'm like, people from my high school don't give a crap about what I'm doing, and they're not checking to see if I'm starting or how many minutes I'm playing. And if they are, then they're literally like terrible people, and they're a fan. Like that's fan behavior.
That's literally fan behavior.
And like, and if they're gonna go a step farther and call you out on it and like say something to you about it, then you shouldn't care about their opinion anyways. And they're insecure.
They're insecure about
their own situation.
They knew about themselves.
So anyways, I think that answers that question very well. All right, next one. I've heard you talk a lot with different athletes about faith in sport, but can you explain how you apply your faith to your sport and how I can do that? Oh my gosh, sorry. And how I can do that.
So I'm obviously very faithful. I wouldn't say as much as like you. Like I definitely have faith, and I I go to church, and but there's obviously different levels, and you know what I mean.
Like everyone's at a different
I wish
spot.
that I was like more. Like I love to portray myself as like this like Christian that I am, and I am Christian. But I wish, as a Christian, you're always wanting
desiring more.
Desiring more. Yeah, exactly. So I would say, like, I do use that in my day-to-day softball aspect for sure. Like, on the Iowa softball team, there's a bunch of us. We pray before every single game. I mean, I pray every single night for, just success in my day-to-day, especially as an athlete and, with injuries and things like that. So I would say that I definitely do bring it into my softball. But to answer, I wish I brought it more.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's very hard.
It is.
Like, especially with playing softball, it is a 90-something% failure. And you're always asking why.
Yeah.
Like, why am I not doing this? Why did I have a bad game? Like, it takes you so long to have a good game. Like, I played in one good game last night. I went 2 for 3, and I haven't played a good game in probably 12 to 13 games.
That's a long time.
And that's long
hard.
time. Like, and so I'm always asking, like, for success from God, and, like, I don't know, it's kind of hard. That's kind of hard to answer.
It is.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't think anyone really knows.
Exactly. Like, I think as a Christian, of course, you're putting faith into your sport, but we're always desiring to put more in, but it's hard because as athletes, we just fail all the time.
Yeah. No, that's a good way to put it. I think, like, this is something I've struggled with recently, and, like, I have, I guess, like, you could call it mentors, but, like, people that I talk with, like, regularly about my faith, and, like, I go to them and ask them questions, and they help me through a lot of stuff like this, but something I've been talking about recently, and, like, with other athletes as well, is, like, I feel like I've reached a point where, okay, I'm satisfied, like, I feel like I have a firm identity in Christ, but then I feel like in a lot of points, like with soccer, I'm not fully there. Like, that's the one aspect of my life where I struggle to bring him into.
Yeah.
And it's so hard, and, like, something I'm navigating right now is, like, even little things, like, it can be so difficult with mindset-wise, because it's like, well, I'm the one putting in all the work.
Yeah.
I'm the one doing this, and, like, it's all about me. But it's like, how in those moments then can you, like, still glorify God and bring him into that space?
It,
like,
yeah.
It's hard. I don't know.
It's so
I
hard.
can't answer that question.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. But I would say, like, for me, very similar to Sammy, we have a really strong group of girls on our team that are believers, and that's been so amazing for me. They've obviously, like, brought me into my faith, so that's been great. But even, like, now being able to help younger girls, and that has been great. But before every game, we all pray together, and that's been amazing. A lot of us go to church together. Most of our coaching staff goes to church as well, and at the same ones we do. So that's very nice, too, to have, like, a very solid foundation on our team. And so that, I feel like, is one way we kind of bring that in. But I guess another thing, too, and something that I learned at UTC was it's like having different touch points. That's not what they call it. I'm blanking on the name. And then you have, like statements like, I am secure, I am loved, like, stuff like that. And so I kind of have things like that I use to remind myself in a game or in practice every day, because it's easy to slip out of that mindset in those situations.
Another thing, too, is, like, I keep saying, so on my team right now, we've been having a little bit of a losing streak, and this is, like, such a like a corny, like, little thing, but, like, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers.
Yeah, that's
and I'll always live by that, and I always continue to tell my teammates that. So, like, kind of to answer the question, like, how I bring faith into my sport, is I kind of live by that. Like, with softball being such a failure aspect of a sport, like, God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers. And I just keep telling my teammates that, like, clearly we're losing and we're doing all this, but it's making us better. And it's gonna, I don't know what it's bringing to us, but it's gonna bring something, and the Lord will bring us something with it. So that's kind of just like what I try to remind my teammates with.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good way to look at it. I mean, that definitely is, that mindset has helped me get through struggles of my own and like internal battles, like always. And it can be so hard to be grateful and like glorify God in those moments where you're on a losing streak, or you're not playing, you're not starting, you're injured. Yeah. Like it can be so difficult, but having the mindset of like, there is purpose behind my suffering, and I know that He has a plan for my life, and it's so much greater than I could possibly ever imagine for myself. So like keeping grounded in that is what I would say. And then I think the last thing for me is just like, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, having a community that you can fall back on is so important. Kind of like I said, like having people that I can go to and ask questions, and like groups of athletes, because they understand what I'm going through, but they have a faith background and a way to help me navigate it.
No, so, that's a really good point. I think that's so important, especially when you come to college.
You need
those people.
You really do.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, next one. I have a couple of different schools that have offered me, but I can't decide which one to commit to. How did you guys decide between your different options, and what advice do you have for choosing the right school?
So whenever anybody asks me, why did you choose Iowa, I always tell them, and I don't know if it's the same for you because it's like different sports, but I feel like it might be the same. The second that I stepped foot on Iowa, I knew that this was my new home. And I will live by that. Like, and I just feel like that's such like a, everybody said, I remember growing up and listening to like my older teammates, mentors, like tell me. Say that. And I'm like, there's no way, like you're lying. Like, there's no way like you can have like that feeling. But no, I will always remember like driving, obviously I flew into Cedar Rapids, and we were driving downtown, and I got this feeling like, oh my God, like this is my new home. And so kind of to answer that question, you will know. Like you 100%, you'll just have that feeling, you'll have that gut feeling. You will form a bond with the coaching staff, and that's kind of like what happened with me too. Like I was the only recruit on my visit, so they rolled out the whole red carpet.
Yeah, you got the
I got everything.
Stuff.
I got the nice restaurants. I got it all. But you'll know, like it's such a special feeling, and I wish that I could go back in time and almost relive it because it was so special to me. And yeah, that was kind of my answer for that one.
I don't know if it's too bold to say like, if you haven't gotten that feeling, like don't go there, don't make that decision. I don't know, it's hard to know, but I will say like, and I think both of us would agree, you will know. And I feel like that's right. I don't know, I've heard of people make like pro-cons lists, and I know my roommate Ellie, when she transferred, she made pro-cons lists of different schools, and she said that didn't end up actually helping her. So I think it's just a hard, and actually her advice, so I'll use it, but she was talking to one of our teammates who's thinking about transferring and or deciding if she's going to just stop playing soccer, what she's going to do. But she was like, honestly, like I made a list. I didn't find that it helped me at all, but kind of went off of feeling and like interaction. You have to go to campus. So if you have not visited all of your schools on your list, please do that. Let's start there. But she
people, like,
I don't know, like how do you,
like over the phone,
right? I'm like, have you never been there? You've never talked to anyone on the team.
I can't do the whole Google pictures. They don't do
any justice. They don't. I'm like, they're on the best sunny day. Like that is not what the school looks like.
Like I remember, like my first winter here, I was like, oh my God, it's
so cold. Like, this is where I chose to go to school.
But thank God on my visit, it was actually pretty cold. No, it was pretty cold.
Oh, it was cold.
So like, I kind of knew what I was
You got
doing.
a taste.
Yeah, exactly. But
yeah, that's fair.
People just like.
I know. I do not understand. Like, especially now that COVID is not a thing.
Yeah.
You should be going on visits. Like, 100%. And that's another thing. Like,
they pay for it.
Yeah. Visit as many schools as possible. I don't know if you guys, I think we get a max of 5 official.
I think it's something like that.
Something like that. I don't know. know your rules, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever it is, but use all your visits. And I mean, I didn't like really many of my other options, so I didn't use them, but I do kind of regret not doing that because I think too, like, I would have appreciated schools more and wouldn't have been so quick to dismiss if I would have gone on a visit and actually got to, like, get a taste for the school, understand what the program and the coaches are like.
It's like what I said earlier about when you have an opportunity, just go do it, and if you don't like it,
that's so
you
true.
don't have to do it. Like,
Yeah.
But this is kind of like a side tangent that I kind of wanted to talk about with that question. When you go on these visits, like, I don't know, this is like literally, like, you're gonna be like, whoa, this is like so bizarre. But like, I just think, so like, obviously we do like, we're like hosts. Do you guys host like younger girls?
Yeah, like, do they sleep at your house and stuff?
No. I mean, like, I've heard some people do that.
Yes,
but, like,
we don't do that, but yes.
They stay in, like, hotel.
Yeah, that's, we do the same.
But, like, for, like, these young, like, viewers, like, listening, like, don't be stuck up when you come to...
Yes!
Because I remember, and I'll never forget, I want to say it was last year or maybe this year, maybe in the fall, we had a group of girls come on a visit, and one of them specifically was just, like, talking about all of her other schools that, like, were interested in her, talking about, like, just this and that, and, like, nothing, like, positive, like, that she was, like, excited to be here. And my coach was like, all right, like, you thought I was going to offer you, like, I'm not, like, anymore. Like, so just, like, a little, like, advice, like, when you are going to, like, these schools and, like, they're paying for all these, like, this hotel and, like, decorating your hotel room and, like, doing all that, like, yeah, like, maybe it might not be as, like, special as, like, this school or another school, but, like, it's still, like, they're still putting interest in you. Like, you should be a good person and, like, be polite and, like, have nice manners and, like, I don't know, just fake it till you make it, I guess. Like,
no, for real. This has amazed me.
Like,
true. Like, I think it was last fall. We had people come in, like, we took them to a football game and stuff like that, and, like, that stuff, I don't know, I never got that when I got recruited, so I'm like, oh, this would have been so cool to me.
Yeah.
And they're, like, you can tell the difference between people who are so, like, grateful and happy to be here, and people who are just like, oh, whatever. But also, another thing, put your phone away.
Oh my god,
and this is, like, drives me up a wall insane. Like, what are you doing? What is wrong with kids nowadays?
Too, they just, like, allow it to happen.
Yeah, they don't say anything. And I'm like, what are you, like, we were literally at dinner.
Like, I get it, you want to, like, take pictures of, obviously, the campus.
That's different.
And, like, that's one thing, but, like...
At dinner, we were at dinner. We're sitting at dinner. Our head coach is across from this girl at the table, and we're all talking, and she's just, like, on her phone, on Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok, and I'm like, oh my god. And, like, one of our former teammates, Jalen, was with me, and she, like, made comments to her about it and, like, said stuff, and her parents just sit there and, like, don't say anything. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
I don't get
like,
it.
Get off your phone.
Like, and that's just, it, like, literally, like, irks me so much that I had to bring it up. Because I remember that one girl, like, she was just going off about, like, yeah, well, I have this visit I'm going to, and this one, like, I just thought I would, like, come here, like, okay. Like, I don't, like, what do you want me to say? Like, oh my god, congratulations.
You're so
like,
cool, I wish I was you.
Exactly, like, and I specifically, like, remember, like, I went to my coach and I was like, don't offer this.
Oh, I think it's,
it's your phone. I was like,
like,
but I was like, I know. I'm like, Coach G, like, I'm telling you now, like, don't.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm like, do these girls not realize, like, we talk to our coaches.
Report it back. Why do you think we're hosts? Like,
right.
Hello.
They ask us what we think of you, and we tell them yes or no. Like, I have no problem being like, do not recruit that girl.
Exactly.
She's a
that's
terrible
gonna be
person.
Your teammate one day. Like, so yeah, I just had to say that, like, so for advice, without, like, asking for advice for this, just be a good person when you go on visits. Like, fake it till you make it if you truly have to, but, like, honestly, just be grateful. Like, really take into consideration that these people, what they're doing for you, and just like I said, just be grateful and be nice. Get
Yes.
off your phone.
Get off your phone. No, that's so true. And just real quick, I wanted to say, because I just thought of it, but to kind of answer a little bit more of, sorry, I was making sure I was on the right question, of deciding which school. Another thing you can do too, that if you are faith-based at all, is like pray on it, ask God to help with that decision. I have not I've done it in different ways and like different decisions since being in college. It's really helped me a lot, and it's helped me also just bring me a lot of peace knowing that like, okay, I feel like I got this answer from him, and I know like this is the right place for me, and I don't have to worry about like being in the wrong place or anything like that, or like if you're worried about choosing the wrong school, like he will help you with that decision. So that's another way to do that as well.
Everything happens for a reason. Like God isn't going to place something in your life that isn't for a reason. So there's always a reason for everything.
So just always trust the Lord and what he has, his plan for you, and you'll be just fine.
Okay, so for our final question, it says, I'm about to go into my sophomore year. What advice do you have about the recruiting process?
I would say keep your options open. Always have a wide variety of different options, just because you never know. You don't want to, obviously my parents were very big on like dream big, and I will always like live by that. Like you should always dream big no matter what. Always shoot for the stars. But like we said earlier, always maintain a reality of like what you think is best for you kind of thing. And just, continue to reach out to as many coaches as you possibly can. I know like the whole emailing thing might be like such a drag, but honestly though, like the coaches, they read them. Like, and another thing too, okay, actually this is good advice because it's advice actually from my one of my assistant coaches. She's our pitching coach. She always like will give this advice at camps. She'll say, when you write an email to me, do not copy and paste the same email that you do to other coaches. Like, I want it to be an entertaining email. I want you to send me pictures of you and your dog. Or like she always will say that.
To set you apart.
To set you apart, that, and like
show me some of your personality. Like I don't want to, yes, I care where you're from, and yes, I care how old you are, but like I want to know something about you. I want to know what your dog looks like. Show me a picture of you and your family kind of thing. So I feel like that's kind of good advice to like just make your emails, yes, like I said, they might be like annoying and stuff, but have fun with it.
Yeah, that's really good advice. My parents were always like, always got that, like, don't copy and paste.
Yeah.
And so, like, I personally hated doing emails because, like, I sent so many, and it was terrible. And luckily, like, my amazing dad helped me so much. Like, he would help me do so much research, but I would always, like, personalize, like, it to each school. And so, like, if I'm emailing them in the fall and they just had a really big win against I don't know, a top school, I mention that, and I think that also goes a really long way because it shows you're interested. It shows you care about the program, you know what's going on, and you know about the school. Like, you're not just like, yeah, I'm really interested in Iowa. Okay, that's cool. Like, so are 50,000 other people.
Exactly.
Like,
spice it up. Tell me something different.
Yeah, but I actually think that's really good advice, is that, because that could really set you apart. And, like, too, I like that it shows your personality.
Also, coaches are going to recruit based on the personalities that are already on your team kind of thing. I think that's, like, kind of how my coaches are. They obviously know all of our personalities, and all of our personalities are very similar, so they're gonna reach they're with us all the time, clearly. They know, so that's what they're gonna strive for, and we have huge personalities. I feel like a lot of athletes just have huge personalities. So yeah, just, and like have fun with it. Like I said, send pictures of you and your family, you and your dogs, you doing other stuff besides your sport. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I think that's another piece too. Like, in the recruiting process, they're trying to get to know you as a person. And I don't know if I've said this before, but my dad, like, at ECNL events used to hand out brochures because did you guys have those? Okay, so they would that's like a thing in soccer. You hand out like a brochure, so it has like your roster pick and
Oh wait. Of like your team? Yeah. We had
So they
like
can
clipboards and like the coaches would like come up and like look at it. Yeah.
So whatever, my dad would always like hand those out, and some of the coaches would be friendly and like talk to him, and some wouldn't. But one of them said like the recruiting process is like dating, and which is so weird to think about, but it kind of is because it's like they're trying to get to know you as a person. Like it's beyond just soccer, you're more than just an athlete.
Exactly.
So it's like so important to show them like, hey, I enjoy doing X, Y, and Z out of sports, or I'm really passionate about this. Like, let them get to know you as like who you are as a person, not as a soccer player.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really good advice. I like that a lot. It's true. Like, obviously they know your ability. They've seen you play. Now it's like more than that now.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, going along with it is like showing them your best qualities, I guess, and finding ways to do that. Like I'm trying to think, for example, like a big thing, which you would think like everyone at this level and like being recruited works really hard, is very driven. That's not the case, surprisingly.
No.
Which is so weird to think about because like for me that's just like a given, but it's not like that for everyone.
Yeah.
So like showing ways, even like, hey, I got an A+ or whatever, an A on my exam, or like I'm doing really well in school, like keeping them updated with stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like that's really important, and that can really set you apart because those things like that are so important for a team culture. And ultimately, like if you don't end up being the best soccer player or the athlete they thought you might be or develop into in college, that's okay. But if you're bringing like so much added value as a person, they have no problem keeping you around.
No problem.
And you can positively impact that team in so many ways outside of just your sport and your performance. 100%. Like that's huge.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's really good advice.
Yeah. So anything else you want to leave off with?
I don't know. Trying to think. I know, I feel like we covered like so many different things. Yeah, I think we're good. Perfect. Yeah, yay. Okay. This long, stressful recording session.
Sorry about the audio, everyone. Goodness, we've had a rough day out here filming.
Yeah, it's okay though.
It's okay, we'll make it through.
Yes.
Well, I hope you guys found this episode really useful and enjoyable. And also, if you ever have any questions, want to know anything, topics, like please DM me. You can DM the podcast Instagram or my personal one, which is in the bio. You can comment on stuff, like more than welcome to do any of that. That's honestly helpful for me because I can give you guys the content that you are wanting. So this was great. I'm really glad that we could do this, and I feel like we gave a lot of really good advice.
Yeah, we did. And it too, because I'm a softball player, you're a soccer player, so different perspectives is always good.
For sure. Yeah, it was good. And thank you for coming on, Sammy. It's such a pleasure having you in front of the camera.
Love it. So much better than being behind.
Right? Thank you guys again for watching this week's episode. You can watch new episodes of All the Way In every single Friday on YouTube and Spotify. Both of them are at All the Way In Pod, and you can find them in the description for this episode. And also, make sure you check out the Instagram page. Like I said earlier, always DMs and everything are open. Feel free to comment. I post a lot of fun content about each episode, and you get sneak peeks of episodes posted there. So go check that out, and that's also at All the Way In Pod. And I'll see you guys next week. Woo! It's a wrap.
The long wrap.
Long awaited. Oh my gosh.